The Great Chamber of the Galactic Council was older than human civilization itself. Its walls curved upward like the inside of a shell, carved from stone that had been pulled from a dead moon 3 million years ago. Lights floated in the air without any visible source, casting soft blue shadows across the hundreds of delegates who filled the circular seats. Captain Daniel Harris stood at the edge of the human section, his dress uniform feeling stiff and uncomfortable. He was a man built for the bridge of a warship, not for political ceremonies. His gray eyes moved across the chamber, studying the aliens the way he might study a tactical display. Old habits died hard. Beside him, Ambassador Katie Morrison sat with perfect posture, her dark hair pulled back in a neat bun. She had spent 8 years learning how to navigate these waters, how to smile when she wanted to scream, how to speak softly when every instinct told her to shout. Today, she would need every bit of that training. The Galactic Union had existed for over 50,000 years. Humanity had been a member for only 12. In the eyes of most species here, humans were still infants, still learning to walk among the stars. High Arbiter Velkoth rose from his seat at the center of the chamber. He was Silthari, an amphibian species with smooth blue skin and large, dark eyes that held ancient wisdom. His people had founded the Union. They had watched empires rise and fall like waves upon a shore. "We gather today to address a grave threat," Velkoth said, his voice carrying through the chamber without any need for amplification. The Vrex Nar have begun their expansion once more. 3 colony worlds have fallen in the past cycle. 47 million lives have been lost. A murmur passed through the chamber. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Peters, standing behind Captain Harris, felt his jaw tighten. He had seen the intelligence reports. The Vrex Nar were not soldiers. They were hunters. They did not conquer worlds for resources or territory. They conquered worlds for sport. "The Coalition fleet is being assembled," Velkoth continued. "The Dralith have pledged 6 battle groups. The Corvani have offered supply lines and medical support. We must stand together against this darkness." Ambassador Morrison raised her hand, following the proper protocol she had memorized years ago. Velkoth acknowledged her with a slight nod. "High Arbiter," Morrison said, rising to her feet. "Earth wishes to contribute to this coalition. We have warships ready to deploy, trained soldiers willing to fight. We ask to be included in the defense force." The chamber fell silent. Harris watched the reactions around the room. Some delegates looked confused. Others looked amused. A few simply looked away, as if embarrassed on humanity's behalf. Delegate Zrix-An of the Corvani made a clicking sound with his mandibles. The insectoid's compound eyes reflected the floating lights like shattered mirrors. "The human's offer is appreciated," he said, his translator giving his words a flat, mechanical tone. "But perhaps they do not fully understand the nature of this enemy." Warden Thulmak of the Dralith leaned forward in his seat. He was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, with scales the color of dried blood and eyes like molten gold. His people were warriors, bred for combat over thousands of generations. When he spoke, his voice rumbled like distant thunder. "The Vrex Nar are apex predators," Thulmak said. "They evolved on a death world where only the strongest survived. They are faster than your kind, stronger, more resilient. What would your soldiers do against such an enemy?" Morrison kept her voice calm. "We would fight." "You would die," Thulmak replied, not unkindly. "Bravery is admirable, but bravery alone does not win wars." High Arbiter Velkoth raised a webbed hand, calling for order. "Ambassador Morrison, please understand that this is not a judgment of humanity's worth. Your species has shown remarkable adaptability and creativity, but warfare against the Vrex Nar requires a predatory constitution that your kind does not possess." Harris felt Peters shift behind him, barely containing his reaction. Dr. Megan Shaw, the ship's xenobiologist who had accompanied them as a cultural advisor, placed a subtle hand on Peter's arm. "Our records indicate that humans evolved as persistence hunters and scavengers," Velkoth continued. "You lack the natural weapons of true predator species. No claws, no fangs, no venom. Your kind survived through cooperation and endurance, not through dominance. These are admirable traits, but they are not the traits of warriors." Morrison wanted to argue. She wanted to tell them about the trenches of the First World War, about Stalingrad, about the countless battles where humans had fought and bled and died against impossible odds. But she knew that such arguments would only confirm their beliefs. To these ancient species, human history was a footnote, a brief and bloody chapter that proved nothing. "We will take your offer under consideration," Velkoth said, his tone making it clear that the consideration would be brief. "For now, humanity's contribution to the coalition will be limited to support roles. Supply, transport, medical assistance, communications." Morrison sat down slowly. Harris said nothing, but his eyes had grown cold. The session continued, delegates discussing fleet positions and supply chains. Then, without warning, every light in the chamber flickered. A priority signal cut through all communications, overriding every system in the station. A distress call. The holographic display at the center of the chamber shifted, showing a star map. A cluster of red dots blinked in contested space, surrounding a group of blue markers. "A Silthari medical convoy," Velkoth said, his voice losing its calm for the first time. 43,000 refugees from the fallen colonies. They were supposed to be safe in neutral space. The red dots were Vrexnar warships. 8 of them. "How long until coalition forces can reach them?" someone asked. 14 hours, came the reply. Minimum. The convoy would be dead in 2. Harris turned to Morrison. Their eyes met, and in that moment, a silent conversation passed between them. She nodded once. Harris activated his communicator. "Lieutenant Commander Peters, signal the Relentless. Tell them to spin up the engines and prep for combat operations." Every head in the human section turned toward him. "Captain," Morrison said, loudly enough for the nearby delegates to hear, "the Relentless is the only vessel within range of that convoy." "Yes, Ambassador, it is." Velkoth stared at the humans, his dark eyes unreadable. "Captain Harris, you cannot be suggesting that a single human vessel challenge 8 Vrexnar warships. That is not bravery. Vrexnar warships, that is suicide." Harris met the High Arbiter's gaze. There was no anger in his eyes, no fear, just a quiet certainty that made something ancient stir in Velkoth's memory, something his species had forgotten long ago. 43,000 people are going to die if someone doesn't do something, Harris said. "We're someone, and we're going to do something." He turned and walked out of the chamber without waiting for permission. His crew followed. Behind them, the Galactic Council watched in stunned silence as the humans left to do what no one else would even attempt. The USS Relentless was not a beautiful ship. She was angular and scarred, her hull marked by the burns of a dozen engagements. She had been built for one purpose, and that purpose was not diplomacy. As the shuttle carrying Captain Harris and his team docked with the vessel, the ship was already humming with activity. Chief Petty Officer Nathan Cruz met them at the airlock. He was a broad man with dark skin and hands that had seen decades of work. His face was calm, almost serene. As he saluted the captain, "Ship is ready, sir. Weapons hot. Engines at full capacity. The crew is waiting for your orders." Harris nodded and moved toward the bridge, his stride quickening. Ambassador Morrison followed, along with Dr. Shaw. But there was one other passenger on the shuttle, one who had not been expected. Zikri, the Corvani cultural attaché, had insisted on coming. He had said it was his duty to observe and report. The truth was simpler. He did not believe what he was about to see, and he needed to witness it with his own compound eyes. The bridge of the Relentless was a controlled storm of activity. Officers moved between stations with practiced efficiency, calling out status reports and confirmations. At the center of it all stood Lieutenant Commander Ryan Peters, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. "Captain on the bridge," someone announced. Harris took his seat in the command chair. It was worn and comfortable, shaped by years of use. He looked at the main screen, where the coordinates of the stranded convoy blinked like a heartbeat. "Time to target?" he asked. 47 minutes at maximum burn," Peters replied. "We'll be pushing the engines past safety limits, but they'll hold." "Do it." The ship lurched as the engines roared to full power. Zikri grabbed a handrail to steady himself, his mandibles clicking nervously. The humans around him did not even seem to notice the acceleration. They were too focused on their tasks. Dr. Shaw approached Zikri, her expression kind but distant. "You should strap in," she said. "Things are going to get rough." "I do not understand," Zikri said, his translator struggling with his confusion. "You are one ship against 8. The mathematics of this situation are not favorable. Why are you not afraid?" Shaw considered the question for a moment. Then she smiled, a strange and unsettling expression that Zikri could not interpret. "We are afraid," she said. "Fear is natural. It keeps you sharp. But fear is just a tool. It tells us when the hunt is about to begin." Before Zikri could respond, Cruz's voice came over the intercom. "All hands, report to armory stations for equipment distribution. This is not a drill." Zikri followed Shaw down to the lower decks, where the armory had been transformed into a hive of activity. Crew members lined up to receive weapons and armor, checking each piece with careful attention. Cruz moved among them, handing out equipment and offering quiet words of encouragement. What struck Zikri was the atmosphere. He had seen warriors prepare for battle before. The Draelith performed rituals of aggression, working themselves into a fury before combat. Other species used chemical enhancers or meditation to suppress their fear. The humans did neither. They were calm, focused. Some of them talked quietly with each other, sharing jokes that Zikri's translator could not fully convey. Others hummed songs or tapped their fingers in rhythms that seemed to have personal meaning. And then Zikri noticed something that made his blood run cold. They were smiling, not the forced smiles of beings trying to hide their terror. These were genuine smiles, small and private, as if each human was greeting an old friend. Cruz handed a plasma rifle to a young woman with short blonde hair, Ensign Samantha Blake, and she thanked him with a grin that showed her teeth. Teeth. Zikri had never thought much about human teeth before. They were small compared to the fangs of true predators, flat and blunt. But seeing them now is displayed openly. He understood something that his people had missed. Humans did not need large teeth. They had other tools. "First deployment?" Cruz asked Blake, his voice gentle. "Yes, Chief," she replied. "I'm ready. I know you are." Cruz checked her armor straps, tightening one that had come loose. "Just remember your training. Stay calm. Watch your corners. And if you get scared, that's okay. Use it. Let it make you faster, sharper. Fear is fuel." There was that phrase again. Fear is fuel. Zikri heard it passed between crew members like a sacred saying, a reminder of something ancient and powerful. Dr. Victor Okonkwo, the ship's surgeon, was setting up a triage station in the corridor outside the armory. His hands moved with the speed and precision of someone who had done this many times before. When he saw Zikri watching, he offered a small nod. "You're the observer," Okonkwo said. It was not a question. "Yes, I am here to witness." "Then witness this." Okonkwo gestured to the crew around them. "These people know they might die today. Some of them probably will, and they're doing it anyway, for people they've never met, people who aren't even human. That's who we are." Zikri wanted to argue, to point out that this was madness. that no rational species would throw themselves into certain death for strangers. But the words would not come. He could only watch as the humans prepared for battle. On the bridge, Captain Harris received a message from Ambassador Morrison, who had taken a position in the Auxiliary Command Center. "Daniel," she said, using his first name for the first time since they had met. "The Council is monitoring our communications. Whatever happens here, they're going to see it." "Good," Harris replied. "Let them watch." Peters looked up from his console. "Captain, I'm picking up the Vrexnar fleet on long-range sensors. 8 vessels, Hunter class. They're circling the convoy like predators," Harris finished. "Yes, sir." Harris stood and faced his crew. The bridge fell silent, every eye turning toward their captain. He did not raise his voice. He did not need to. "In 15 minutes, we're going to drop out of faster-than-light travel in the middle of 8 enemy warships. They're bigger than us. There are more of them. By every measure that matters to the galaxy, we should not be able to win this fight." He paused, letting the words settle. "But here's what the galaxy doesn't understand about us. We didn't become the dominant species on our planet because we were the biggest or the strongest. We became dominant because we refused to stop. Our ancestors chased prey across continents until it collapsed from exhaustion. They tracked wounded animals for days without rest. They learned that the hunt doesn't end when you get tired. The hunt ends when you decide it ends." His gray eyes moved across the bridge, meeting each crew member's gaze in turn. "Those Vrexnar out there think they're the hunters. They think we're prey. They're wrong. Today, we teach them what humanity has known for 200,000 years." He sat back down in his command chair. "We are the hunt." The ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The stars returned to their normal positions, and directly ahead, the burning wreckage of the convoy filled the screen. Around it, 8 Vrexnar warships waited. Harris leaned forward, his voice dropping to something cold and quiet. "All hands, battle stations. Let's go get our people." The Vrexnar commander was called Bloodfang in the common tongue, though his true name was a series of growls and clicks that no human throat could produce. He stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the lone vessel that had just appeared on his sensors. He was massive, even by Vrexnar standards. His scales were black as void, his eyes burning yellow with the hunger that drove his species. Behind him, his pack waited for orders, their claws clicking against the metal deck in anticipation. "One ship," his second in command said, confusion evident in his tone. "One small ship against our entire fleet." Bloodfang's mouth curved into something that might have been a smile. His fangs, each as long as a human forearm, gleamed in the dim red light of the bridge. "Humans," he said, recognizing the ship's configuration. "The soft meat has come to offer themselves." He opened a communication channel, broadcasting on all frequencies. The face of Captain Daniel Harris appeared on his screen, calm and steady. "Human vessel," Bloodfang said, his voice a deep rumble. "You are far from your pack. Turn back now, and I will grant you a quick death rather than a slow one." Harris did not blink. "You have one chance to leave. Take it." The bridge of Bloodfang's ship erupted in laughter. The sound was harsh and grating, like stones grinding together. Bloodfang himself threw back his head and roared with amusement. "The prey offers mercy to the hunter," he said. "I will mount your skull on my wall, human. I will wear your skin as a trophy. Your screams will echo in my memory for generations." Harris's expression did not change. "You talk too much." He cut the communication. Bloodfang's laughter died. Something cold passed through his chest, a sensation he had not felt in decades. He dismissed it instantly. "All ships, destroy them." The battle began. 8 Vrexnar warships turned their weapons toward the Relentless, each vessel 3 times her size. Plasma cannons charged, missile bays opened. It should have been a slaughter. It was not. The Relentless did not run. She did not try to evade. She charged directly into the heart of the enemy formation, engines burning so bright they left afterimages on every sensor screen. Lieutenant Commander Peters coordinated the attack with machine-like precision. Human targeting systems, developed through centuries of warfare against each other, locked onto weak points in the Vrexnar ships with terrifying accuracy. "Fire all forward batteries," Harris ordered. The Relentless spoke with a voice of thunder. Missiles streaked through the void. Energy beams cut paths of destruction through the darkness. The first Vrexnar ship took 3 direct hits to its engine section and fell out of formation, trailing fire and debris. On the Relentless, alarms began to wail. The ship shuddered as enemy weapons found their mark. A section of the outer hull was breached. Atmosphere screamed into space before emergency bulkheads slammed shut. "Damage report," Harris called out, his voice still calm. "Decks 7 through 9 are compromised," someone replied. "Fire suppression is active. No casualties yet." "Yet" was the key word. Everyone on that bridge knew what was coming. In the armory bay, Chief Petty Officer Cruz felt the ship shake beneath his feet. A piece of shrapnel, blown inward by an explosion, caught him in the shoulder. Blood poured down his arm, soaking into his uniform. He looked at the wound for exactly 1 second. Then he reached for another torpedo with his good arm and continued loading the manual launcher. "Chief, you need medical attention," one of his crew said. "I need this launcher working," Cruz replied. "Bandage it and keep moving." They did. The torpedo loaded. Cruz smiled through the pain and fired. On the bridge of Bloodfang's flagship, confusion was beginning to set in. The tactical display showed something impossible. The human ship was not dying. It was not retreating. It was cutting through the fleet like a blade through flesh. "They're insane," Bloodfang's second-in-command said. "They're taking damage that should cripple them, and they're still fighting." Another Vrexnar ship exploded, torn apart by a precise volley of missiles. Bloodfang watched the human vessel dance between his ships, and for the first time in his long life, he felt something that his species had never truly known: doubt. Ensign Samantha Blake sat at her communications station, blood from a cut on her forehead dripping into her eye. She wiped it away and continued her work, monitoring enemy transmissions and feeding information to tactical. "I've got something, sir," she called out. "Internal communications between Vrexnar ships. They're panicking." She put the transmission on the main speaker, translated in real time. "What are these things?" A Vrexnar voice said, terror bleeding through the words. "They won't stop. They won't run. They're hunting us. They're hunting us." Harris allowed himself a small, cold smile. "Yes," he said quietly. Ambassador Morrison watched from the Auxiliary Command Center, her hands gripping the console so tightly her knuckles had turned white. She had read the reports about human warfare. She had studied the history, but she had never seen it like this. The crew of the Relentless was not fighting out of rage or bloodlust. There was no screaming, no fury. They moved with calm efficiency, each person doing their job as if this were a routine exercise rather than a desperate battle against impossible odds. Dr. Okonkwo worked in the medical bay, treating the wounded as they came in. A young engineer had lost an arm to an explosion. Okonkwo sedated him, stopped the bleeding, and sent him to recovery in under 3 minutes. "Next," he called out, already reaching for his instruments. The wounded kept coming, and Okonkwo kept working, his hands steady, his mind focused. He had trained for this. They all had. On the bridge, Peters looked up from his console. "Captain, we've destroyed 3 enemy vessels. 2 more are crippled and drifting, but we're taking heavy damage. Hull integrity is at 60% and falling." Harris nodded. "What about Bloodfang's flagship? Still operational. It's pulling back. It's running," Harris corrected. "Follow it." "Sir, if we pursue, we leave the convoy exposed to the remaining ships." Harris considered for exactly 1 second. "Belay that. Finish the active threats first. The flagship can wait." The Relentless turned, bringing its weapons to bear on the remaining Vrexnar vessels. One by one, they fell. Some tried to flee. None succeeded. Zikri watched from his position near the back of the bridge, his compound eyes wide with what could only be described as horror. He had seen the Drelith fight. He had watched them tear enemies apart with their bare claws. But this was different. The Drelith fought with passion, with fire. These humans fought with ice. They killed with the calm efficiency of a surgeon removing a tumor. There was no hatred in their eyes, no joy in destruction. There was only purpose. When the last enemy ship fell silent, drifting dead in the void, Harris finally allowed himself to lean back in his chair. His forehead was bleeding from where he had been thrown against a console during the battle. He had not bothered to wipe it away. "Status on the convoy," he said. "Intact, sir. All 43,000 refugees are alive." Harris closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, they were bright with something that might have been tears. "Good," he said. "Get search and rescue teams out there. I want every survivor found. I want every wound treated. I want these people to know that they're safe now." He stood, surveying his damaged bridge, his wounded crew. "They're safe," he repeated, quieter now. "Because we were here." Behind them, Bloodfang's flagship disappeared into faster-than-light travel, fleeing into the darkness. The Vrexnar would remember this day. They would tell stories of the human ship that would not stop. The prey that became the hunter. The hunt was over, but the humans had only just begun. The Galactic Council chamber was silent. It had been silent for nearly an hour, ever since the last Vrexnar ship had fallen, and the human vessel had begun rescue operations. The holographic display still showed the battlefield, now cluttered with debris and the flickering lights of escape pods. High Arbiter Velkoth sat motionless in his chair, his large dark eyes fixed on the image before him. He had lived for over 3,000 years. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had witnessed the last war against the Vrexnar 5 centuries ago, when the Coalition had lost 11 worlds before finally pushing them back. He had never seen anything like what he had just witnessed. Around him, the other delegates were equally stunned. The Corvani clicked their mandibles in agitated patterns. The Silthari delegates had turned pale blue, a sign of extreme distress in their species. Even the Drelith, those fierce warriors who prided themselves on their combat prowess, sat in heavy silence. Warden Thulmak was the first to speak. His rumbling voice echoed through the chamber like distant thunder. "Play it again," he said. No one asked what he meant. The holographic display rewound, and they watched the battle for the 4th time. They watched the lone human vessel charge into the heart of an enemy formation that should have destroyed it in seconds. They watched it twist and dance between plasma bursts and missile volleys. They watched it kill. "This is not possible," Delegate Zrix-An said, his translator giving his words a flat quality that failed to hide his shock. "The mathematics do not support this outcome. 1 vessel against 8. They should have been destroyed in the first 30 seconds. And yet," Velkoth said quietly, "they were not." A younger Silthari delegate pulled up data on his console. "I have been studying the engagement patterns," he said. "The human ship used tactics that our combat models do not recognize. They did not fight like defenders. They did not fight like ambushers. They fought like..." He trailed off, unable to find the word. "Hunters," Thulmak finished. "They fought like hunters." The chamber fell silent again. In the culture of the Drelith, that word carried weight. Hunters were sacred, chosen warriors who underwent decades of training. To call an enemy a hunter was to pay them the highest compliment a Drelith could offer. Velkoth turned to a Corvani analyst. "Pull up the historical records on human warfare. I wish to understand what we are dealing with." 9. The analyst hesitated. "High Arbiter, the human historical archives are extensive and disturbing. Are you certain you wish to show me?" The holographic display shifted. Images began to appear, drawn from human records that had been shared with the Galactic Union during first contact. The Council watched in growing horror as the story of humanity unfolded before them. They saw the trenches of the First World War, where millions of humans had died fighting over meters of mud-soaked ground. They saw soldiers climbing out of those trenches, walking calmly towards certain death. Not because they believed they would survive, but because their brothers beside them were doing the same. They saw Stalingrad, a city reduced to rubble, where humans had fought building to building, room to room, for months, where soldiers had continued fighting even when there was no hope of victory, because surrender was not in their nature. They saw medics running into fire to save wounded comrades. They saw civilians forming human chains to protect children from soldiers. They saw a man standing alone in front of a tank, refusing to move. And they saw the bombs. Weapons of unimaginable destruction that humans had built with their own hands. Devices capable of destroying entire cities in a single flash of light. Weapons they had used on each other, and then somehow had chosen not to use again. They possessed the power to destroy their world, Zrixon said, his voice barely above a whisper. And they did not. Why? No one had an answer. A message appeared on Velkoth's console. He opened it and found a request for testimony from Zikri, the Corvani observer who had been aboard the human vessel during the battle. The cultural attaché was being transported back to the station and wished to address the council. An hour later, Zikri stood at the center of the chamber, his compound eyes dim with exhaustion and something that looked very much like fear. "Tell us," Velkoth said simply. "What did you see?" Zikri was silent for a long moment, gathering his thoughts. When he spoke, his voice was steady but soft. "Before the battle, I watched them prepare. The humans. I expected to see fear. I expected to see the behaviors we observe in prey species when they know death is coming. Elevated heart rates, dilated pupils, chemical signals of panic." He paused, his mandibles clicking slowly. "I saw none of that. Their hearts remained steady. Their eyes remained clear. But something changed in them. Something I cannot fully describe. Their movements became more efficient. Their voices dropped lower. They began to smile. A murmur passed through the chamber." Zikri continued. "I spoke with one of their scientists, a female called Dr. Shaw. I asked her how they could face certain death without fear. She told me something that I will never forget." He looked directly at Velkoth. She said, "Fear is just a tool. It tells us when the hunt is about to begin." The chamber was absolutely silent. "During the battle," Zikri continued, "I watched them take damage that should have broken them. I watched crew members fight through wounds that would have incapacitated members of my species. One of their warriors, a male called Cruz, took a piece of metal through his shoulder. He looked at the wound for 1 second, then continued loading weapons with his other arm. He was smiling. None. Why? Someone asked. Why would he smile? I asked that same question. Another human, their surgeon, gave me an answer. He said that humans did not evolve to be the fastest, the strongest, or the most deadly. They evolved to be the most persistent. They chased prey across continents until it collapsed from exhaustion. They tracked wounded animals for days without rest. And somewhere in that process, they learned something that no other species in the galaxy has fully mastered. Velkoth leaned forward. What? Zikri met his gaze with compound eyes that held a new kind of respect. How to turn fear into fuel. The words hung in the air. Warden Thulmak rose from his seat, his massive form casting a shadow across the floor. We made a mistake, he said. All of us. We looked at these humans and saw soft skin, blunt teeth, weak bodies. We assumed they were prey because they did not look like predators. He gestured toward the holographic display, where the image of the human vessel still hung, battered but triumphant. We forgot the most important lesson of survival. The most dangerous predators are not the ones who look dangerous. The most dangerous predators are the ones who never stop. Look, Velkoth looked at the display. At the human ship surrounded by the debris of enemies who had underestimated them. What are humans? He asked. The same question he had asked before. This time, Thulmak had an answer. They are what happens when prey decides to become the hunter. And once they make that choice, he shook his massive head slowly. They do not stop. They do not rest. They do not forget. They hunt until the hunt is over. He turned to face the full council. We asked them to stay out of this war because we thought we were protecting them. We were wrong. We were protecting ourselves from having to face the truth. His golden eyes burned with something between fear and respect. The humans are not prey. They never were. They simply choose, every day, not to hunt. But today, we saw what happens when they make a different choice. The council sat in silence, grappling with a reality that would reshape galactic politics for centuries to come. Somewhere out in the void, the human ship continued its rescue operations, saving lives without fanfare or celebration. They were just doing what needed to be done. 1 week had passed since the battle. The USS Relentless floated in a repair dock at Nexus Prime, her hull scarred but unbroken. Crews from a dozen species worked around the clock to patch her wounds, treating the human vessel with a reverence that had not existed before. Captain Daniel Harris stood at the observation window of his temporary quarters, watching the workers move across the outer hull of his ship. His arm was in a sling, his forehead still marked by the cut that had bled during the battle. The doctors had wanted him to rest, but Harris had never been good at following those kinds of orders. A chime sounded at his door. He turned to find Ambassador Katie Morrison entering, a datapad in her hand and a tired smile on her face. "It's official," she said. The Galactic Union has formally requested that humanity take a leadership role in the coalition against the Vrex-Nar. Harris raised an eyebrow. Leadership, not support, not support. Morrison sat down in one of the chairs, letting out a long breath. They want our ships on the front lines, our tactics, our training programs. They want to learn how we fight. And what did you tell them? Morrison's smile faded into something more serious. I told them we would accept, with conditions. We will fight. We will protect. We will defend. She met his eyes. We will not conquer. We are not the galaxy's attack dogs. Harris nodded slowly. Good. That's the right answer. Ah, there's something else. Morrison pulled up a file on her datapad. This came in 2 hours ago. The Vrex-Nar have requested a ceasefire negotiation. Harris turned fully toward her, surprise evident on his face. The Vrex-Nar don't negotiate. It's not in their nature. It wasn't in their nature, Morrison corrected. Word of what happened at the convoy has spread through their ranks. They're calling the Relentless something in their own language. The closest translation our linguists can manage is the ship that does not die. But there's another term that's been circulating. They're calling humans. She paused, searching the datapad for the exact phrasing. The unending ones. Harris was quiet for a long moment. He thought about his crew, about the wounds they had suffered, about the price they had paid. He thought about Cruz, who was still in recovery but already asking when he could return to duty. He thought about young Ensign Blake, who had performed like a veteran and was now being recommended for commendation. We're not unending, he said finally. Morrison laughed, a genuine sound that broke the tension. Same thing, apparently. Later that day, Harris received word that he was being offered a promotion, a larger command, more resources, a position that would place him at the heart of the new coalition. He declined without hesitation. The admiral who had made the offer seemed confused. This is an extraordinary opportunity. You would have access to... With respect, sir, Harris interrupted. I have everything I need. The Relentless is my ship. Her crew is my family. I'm not leaving them. The Admiral studied him for a long moment, then nodded with what might have been respect. Very well, Captain. The Relentless is yours. In the medical bay of the station, Dr. Victor Okonkwo was finally allowing himself to rest. He had worked for 36 hours straight after the battle, treating wounds and stabilizing the critical cases. Now he sat in a quiet corner, a cup of cold coffee forgotten beside him. Zikri found him there. Doctor, the Corvani said, his mandibles clicking softly. I have been looking for you. Doctor, I have been looking for you. Okonkwo looked up, his eyes heavy with exhaustion but still alert. What can I do for you? Attaché. Zikri hesitated, then sat down across from the human. I have been thinking about what I witnessed. About your people. I have a question that has been troubling me. Ask, how do you live with it? The predator. Inside you. Zikri's compound eyes were fixed on Okonkwo's face. I saw what your kind is capable of. I saw the coldness in your eyes as you fought. How do you carry that weight without letting it consume you? Okonkwo was silent for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was soft and thoughtful. I became a doctor because I wanted to heal, to fix what was broken, to save lives. He looked down at his hands, the same hands that had held weapons during the battle, the same hands that had stitched wounds closed in its aftermath. But I've also learned that sometimes, to protect life, you have to be willing to take it. That's not a contradiction. It's just the truth. He met Zikri's gaze. We don't fight the predator inside us. We don't pretend it doesn't exist. We accept it, and then we choose what to hunt. What do you mean? I mean, we point ourselves at the things that hurt others. Cruelty, injustice, fear itself. Okonkwo's expression softened. That's what we hunt. Not because we have to, but because we choose to. Every day, we wake up and make that choice again. Zikri considered this for a long moment. Then, slowly, he extended one of his manipulator limbs toward Okonkwo. The human recognized the gesture from his cultural briefings, a sign of respect among the Corvani, offered only to those considered worthy. Okonkwo took it. On the bridge of the newly repaired Relentless, the crew was gathering for departure. The convoy they had saved had long since reached safe harbor. But there were always more people who needed help. More innocents caught in the crossfire of a war they had never asked for. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Peters stood at his console, running final diagnostics. Ensign Blake was at her communications station, her confidence noticeably stronger than it had been a week ago. Chief Petty Officer Cruz had been cleared for light duty, and though his arm was still healing, he refused to stay behind. Dr. Megan Shaw stood near the back of the bridge, watching the crew with quiet pride. She had spent years studying alien cultures, trying to understand how different species saw the galaxy. Now she was learning something new about her own kind, seeing humanity through the eyes of those who had finally witnessed what they were capable of. Captain Harris arrived last, taking his seat in the command chair. He looked around at his crew, at the faces that had become as familiar to him as his own family. Status report, he said. All systems operational, Peters replied. The new hull plating is holding. Weapons are online. We're ready to go. Good. Harris turned to the main view screen, where the stars waited. Set a course for the outer rim. There are colony worlds out there that need protection. The ship hummed to life around them, engines powering up, navigation systems plotting their path. As the Relentless prepared to leave the station, a message came through on the communications channel. It was from the Silthari convoy, specifically, from the refugee ship that had been closest to destruction during the battle. The screen filled with images of Silthari children, their blue faces pressed against portholes, waving at the human vessel. One of them had drawn a picture on the glass. It was simple and rough, done in the style of a child who had never held a drawing instrument before. But the meaning was clear. It showed a stick figure human with a big smile, standing between a group of smaller Silthari figures and a dark, menacing shape with fangs. Blake put the image on the main screen without being asked. The bridge fell silent as the crew looked at the drawing, at this simple gift from a child who had learned that not all predators were something to fear. Peters glanced at Harris. "Think they'll ever stop being afraid of us?" Harris watched the children wave, their hands pressing against the glass like they were reaching for the people who had saved them. "Maybe," he said, "but I hope they'll learn to trust us first." Morrison's voice came over the internal comm, soft and thoughtful. "I think they already have, Captain." Harris allowed himself a small smile, the first genuine one since the battle had begun. "Helm," he said, "take us out." The Relentless turned toward the stars, leaving the station behind. Ahead of them lay uncertainty, danger, and a galaxy that was only just beginning to understand what humanity truly was. But the crew of the Relentless was not afraid. They knew who they were. They knew what they were capable of, and they knew what they had chosen to become. Not conquerors, not destroyers, not monsters, guardians, the unending ones, who would never stop protecting those who could not protect themselves. The stars stretched out before them, vast and full of possibility. And somewhere in the darkness, those who would prey upon the innocent learned to look over their shoulders, because the hunt was never truly over. It had only just begun.